James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Slam NBA DFS Playbook Show. Here it is NBA opening night. James, we made it. 2-game main slate on tap. Some big matchups, some big injury news once again that we're waiting on because it is the NBA. Which makes you feel really just at home, right, James? That we are already waiting on lineup lock to come our way here.
Nothing's changed, Sean. We hadn't even made it to today, and there was injury news. And welcome back. Bradley Beal not going to play. Oh, maybe he's going to play. Actually,
maybe he will. Maybe he won't.
And then Devin Booker's questionable, but he says he's going to play, but he's still questionable. So what if he re-aggravates something during? It's just we're home. NBA is back. Happy to be here. So happy to be here, actually. NBA is you and I have done this podcast and live stream thing for quite a while now here at Fantasy Alarm, and it's always the best part of the year, I would say, for me. So
we always thought we basically brought the the live stream podcast game to Fantasy Alarm like 10 years ago with the NBA DFS podcast because you and I just wanted to talk some ball. We were just cutting our teeth here at Fantasy Alarm, doing some NBA DFS playbook content, and here we are now, 12 years later, basically still here, crushing it, looking better than ever. Got a new intro for this year. We got a new template for this year. Still dealing with the same things, though, so we're happy to have everybody starting to tune in to us here. We'll be going over the DraftKings main slate. If you guys have any questions, again, feel free to hop in the chat. Throw them in there. We're more than happy to answer those for you. Lineup, start, sit, betting questions. If you have them, we'll answer those as well. James and I are going to be going over some underdog fantasy picks as well on today's show. I have my underdog fantasy video out, an article out already over on Fantasy Alarm. Our guy Iggy has his NBA player props and best bets article out there as well. For those of you who are looking to get a little betting action in on today's main slate, kicking off tonight. Again, 7:30, we have Lakers versus the Denver Nuggets. We got Phoenix Suns, Golden State Warriors at 10 o'clock. They gave us 2 Western Conference games here. Instead of giving an Eastern Conference game a 7:30 start, they gave a Mountain Time game a 7:30 start. So they're going to be tipping off at 5:30, I think it is, Mountain Time over there. But nonetheless, it's great to have some NBA back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. Obviously, you got to give Denver the opening spot here, John, but give them the late game.
Could have easily had Denver Golden State or something like that. Didn't easily need to have two Western Conference teams.
But, yeah, you can't miss, you're the NBA, you can't miss an opportunity to have the Lakers on an opening night. So it's just, it kind of is what it is. It's Denver kind of threw a wrench in everything. So we're not going to include Jokic on our graphic and then on our opening night graphic, and we have to include them in the, I guess, so we're just put them at 7:30. I digress. Very happy to have these Western Conference, because these could potentially be the best 4 teams in the West, and
very easily could be the best 4 teams in the West here. James, when it comes to totals and spreads here this evening, we got the Lakers again in Denver here. Denver is a 5-point home favorite, 228.5 game total. Phoenix is a 2-point dog now on the road against Golden State, a 235 total now in this one. When this game opened up, as we talked about on the Better Sports Betting Show just a few moments ago, it was closer to a pick'em, but obviously the Bradley Beal news and then the Devin Booker news is shifting the line a little bit more towards Golden State. Devin Booker, recent reports are that he's going to play. Bradley Beal went from expected not to play to still not expected to play, but going to try to give it a go during pregame warmups here. That's a 10 p.m. lock. So obviously, if you're playing DFS tonight and you have Bradley Beal in your lineup, be prepared. Throw him in your util, throw him in your guard spot so you can make a pivot maybe to a Klay Thompson or something like that. Should he not end up playing here this evening? But that's the injury news that we're waiting on. Thoughts on the game totals and spreads here?
Yeah, they make sense. It is interesting to see the line moving in Denver's favor opening night, celebrating the first trophy in NBA or your franchise's history, going up against a Lakers team that looked good in the preseason and looked healthy coming into the year. But Denver did dominate them in 4 games. And then no surprise to see the Golden State line. I did see it up to 3 points.
Okay.
When the Bradley Beal news came out, back to 2.5, depending on where you're looking. Caesars actually still has it as a pick'em, which I find a little interesting. Maybe they know
value
something
there, then, right?
That's
And then we talk a lot about being able to diversify your funds. If you can line shop here, get yourself a little bit of better odds. If you think Beal's not going to play, if you think Booker's not at 100%, going up against this Golden State team. Now, Golden State's not going to have Draymond Green. Obviously, that's a big piece to them. They don't have Jordan Poole this year. They replaced him essentially with Chris Paul, but still, Durant and Booker and Phoenix, they're going into Golden State on opening night now without Bradley Beal, without 100% Devin Booker. Feels like Golden State is a pretty easy bet for me.
Yeah, and just considering how good they were at home last year versus on the road, like you're getting Golden State against a obviously less than healthy, less than 100% Phoenix team has to travel on the road. Like Golden State had no problems at home last year. They just couldn't win on the road, other than Game 7 against the Kings in the playoffs. That was the only time they seemingly won a road game. So, very interesting to see a sportsbook still have that game as a pick'em. But mostly 2.5 makes sense. Open at 1, and I expect Beal to sit. They even said it in the report that they're going to be cautious. Why would they backtrack that report about him being cautious and then suddenly he's going to play? Like that's the complete opposite of what you need when it comes to caution. So it makes sense 2.5 at Golden State rightful favorite, Denver rightful favorite at home. But I do like the Lakers maybe getting the points there.
I agree with you. Before we hop into breaking down this DraftKings main slate, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. If you go to fantasyalarm.com/underdog and use promo code ALARM right now, you're getting a $500 deposit match up to $500 there for new users. So you can scan that QR code here on the screen or go to fantasyalarm.com/underdog. Use promo code ALARM when you sign up and you get up to a $500 deposit match offer when you sign up for new users here today. James, I have the Underdog Fantasy article and video out on fantasyalarm.com and on our YouTube page here. Give you a couple of plays that I like here tonight. If you want to throw one into yourself, feel free to. First one I'm going with is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, higher than 2.5 rebounds. This is a number that he went over in 50% of his games played last season. But I'm looking at sort of the matchup. Not only that, going up against the Lakers here, but also the fact that you're looking at this Denver rotation now, and there's no Bruce Brown, a guy that they rotated in those backcourt spots for Denver last year. They have Christian Braun, a younger player looking to maybe see a little bit of an increased role here. But we like KCP's defense. They're going to need him on the perimeter here and a spot where he could maybe get aggressive on the glass. So give me KCP higher than 2.5 rebounds this evening.
Yeah, I like it. And Denver's starters fully ramped up in terms of minutes outside of Michael Porter, and Michael Porter's a pretty good rebounder, so I expect him to be limited, which is going to take him off the floor a little bit. So I do like that quite a bit. I'll throw in I like Yusuf Nurkic over 11.5 points, or higher than 11.5 points, excuse me.
Sure.
No Bradley Beal, or the expectation is no Bradley Beal, and even if Devin Booker plays, he's clearly less than 100%. Look, Nurkic for his career is a 12-point per game scorer, but you have to go back to 2016 when he was still in Denver for the last time that he didn't average at least 11.5 points per game. And even over the last few years where he has been somewhat limited in terms of minutes and his conditioning and whatnot, he still averaged well over that mark. So I like Yusuf Nurkic over 11 or higher than 11.5 points tonight.
Yep, and both players that we just gave out, if you go look at the Fantasy Alarm daily DFS projections, we have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope projected to go higher than the 2.5 rebounds, and we have Jusuf Nurkic projected to go higher than the 11.5 points this evening. So both of those are in coordination, in conjunction with our projections over at Fantasy Alarm. All right, James, let's get to it here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Got a DraftKings slate to talk about. We're going to go position by position for the stream here today. Point guard spot here, James. We look at here Steph Curry, Devin Booker, Jamal Murray, maybe Bradley Beal, D'Angelo Russell. So on a smaller slate, the player pool obviously much smaller than we'll deal with tomorrow during their 12 or 13 games here. How are you going about approaching this point guard spot today?
So obviously getting to any of the top guys are fine. I like Steph Curry. I like the multi-position eligibility as well. Devin Booker, mild interest. I love the price on Devin Booker. I don't love the injury status, but we've seen plenty of players be really good in terms of injuries. I love Jamal Murray tonight, $7,500. He dominated the Lakers last year, and all that the Lakers really did, and I'll give the Lakers credit. They are a good defensive team, especially when Anthony Davis is healthy. But that didn't stop Jamal Murray last year. And we saw it in the Western Conference Finals. We saw it during the regular season. Jamal Murray was a menace for them, and he's a matchup nightmare for them. He is going to be guarded mainly by D'Angelo Russell, and sometimes we overlook individual matchups. But I think this is one of those things where everyone that they could throw at Murray is a kind of a matchup nightmare. And Mike Malone came out and said, every time they're out of a timeout or on the floor, either Jokic or Murray are going to be on the floor. You are never going to see times where they're both not playing. So we're going to get a lot of the game when Jokic is off the floor with Jamal Murray by himself. And that's going to be a really big boost for his fantasy production this year, because they don't have Bruce Brown to handle the ball anymore. They don't have that surefire guy. So 7,500 for Jamal Murray is a really interesting price for me, and a spot that I'm willing to get to. And I think when you look at the landscape of the slate, we have so much star power that I think a lot of people are just going to exclude Murray, because a lot of people are going to play Jokic. Maybe they don't want to pair Jokic and Murray together. And a lot of people are going to go to Durant, and you have Curry in a spot, obviously, that's ideal. Booker's playing without Bradley Beal. Murray's just going to fall by the wayside. And he's the best price of all of these stars tonight, because I'm willing to say Jamal Murray is a star. We saw it, for extended periods of time last year, and especially in the postseason. So Jamal Murray 7,500 stands out to me the most amongst the guys above 6K at point guard.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Again, I think pricing wise, obviously it's a smaller slate. We're not saying don't go ahead and play these players like Booker. They're all certainly in play here, but bang for buck as we got to go along, and we're going to build out a lineup at the end of the show so you guys can kind of see our lineup making process. And I see some of your questions in chat too, Gabriel. We'll answer that in a moment as we move across the board here. But Murray, for me, an obvious plug. And then as we went down, Chris Paul is a guy that you and I are both pretty high on. I know we've talked about how that rotation may play out for Golden State with no Draymond Green on the floor tonight here. Whether they'll stagger the minutes with Paul or Curry, or whether they'll play them together. Either way, we think end of the day, you're going to see Chris Paul on the floor here for 28 to 32 minutes a night, and that's enough to get him double-double territory, double-digit assists at the very least.
Yeah, and you don't especially with Draymond out, you don't have to worry about whether he's going to come off the bench or start. He's going to start with Draymond out, because they're just going to simply move Kevon Looney into the starting rotation and keep Kuminga probably on the bench. I assume that's the rotation that they're going to go with, as kind of like a 6-man. And they're going to stagger. It makes complete sense. Steve Kerr has always done this. When he had Durant and Curry, they stagger after they start the game and start the third quarter. They staggered. Curry was on the floor for the whole first. Durant comes in late first and plays most of second quarter. So we're going to get a lot of situations where Chris Paul is, playing along Steph Curry, which is not a bad thing when you have the best shooter of all time to pass to. And then you also have, the second unit to yourself, or where you're playing with Klay Thompson, or where you're playing with Jonathan Kuminga, guys who can score the basketball. So, yeah, 5,600 is a stupid cheap price. I like Chris Paul, all formats, cash, tournaments. He's one of my biggest locks of the day, if not the guy that I'm locking in first.
Sure.
It's a little different on FanDuel. He's $8,000 over there, and it's obviously not as user friendly, and it's definitely tougher to get to him over there. But 5,600 for Chris Paul is just, I get it, new environment, new team, whatever. But that's just a misprice on opening night, and that's just something that we should take advantage of.
I agree with you, especially on a smaller slate here. Yep. How are we attacking some of these other value plays? I mean, we know Gabe Vincent's going to be in the Lakers rotation. We figure Reggie Jackson's going to be in the rotation here for Denver. Gary Payton as well, potentially one of the first guys off the bench for Golden State this year in their guard rotation. Any interest on a 2-game slate and getting some exposure here?
I would say maybe only Jordan Goodwin. And that's
Goodwin as well, yeah, down all the way down here, $3,300.
I would say, like, Vincent's going to play a role. They gave him a lot of money, but D'Lo is still going to dominate that split. Reggie Jackson's, 15 minutes. If he's not going to probably play much with Jamal Murray, maybe they do. Maybe I'm misreading that situation. Maybe we see Jackson play 20-something minutes. GP probably nothing more than 13 to 16 minutes. But I do think Goodwin's the one caveat here. He had a really good preseason. He's the clear-cut backup to Beal. I don't think he starts, and I do think as long as Devin Booker's in the lineup, we see Devin Booker as a starting point guard tonight. And you and I have talked about Point Booker a lot throughout the years, and he is a very good playmaker. But, like, if Devin Booker is injured or limited or in any capacity, or they want to just play him off the ball like he's normally going to do if Bradley Beal's the de facto point guard, Jordan Goodwin has a role in this team. And we've seen him be a pretty good fantasy producer. in a different capacity, obviously with Washington, but averaged basically a fantasy point per minute last year. So at a $3,300 clip, if you're telling me Jordan Goodwin were to get like 20 minutes, which I think is reasonable, without Bradley Beal, if he got 20 fantasy points at 3,300, he's probably in a winning lineup on a 2-game slate.
I also think that on a smaller slate, we talk about this as well. The ceilings and floors you need on smaller slates aren't the same as they are on a 13-game slate. So if you go ahead and get in a Jordan Goodwin in your lineup tonight, and he gives you 15 fantasy points. Well, one, that's still 5x at $3,300, so you're not really kicking yourself. But also, much like you approach these in showdown slates, where sometimes that's all you need. You just need that value guy to give you not a zero, so you can go spend up on a Jokic and a Curry tonight, or LeBron, or whatever, and double up the top spend ups here, and hope those are the ones that carry you through. And then whatever contributions you get when it comes to the value tier, is where we're going to go, because we're going to talk about some guys that are relatively cheap on this slate, and we're going to have to try to decide which are the ones we want to invest our money in. Gabriel here mentions Taurean Prince as a guy that is expected to start here tonight for the Lakers, but it's like, would you rather spend money there where that situation still feels maybe uncertain? Josh Okogie is relatively cheap, and we mentioned Jordan Goodwin here. It's like, where would you rather invest your money tonight? And it feels like a higher upside play could be with the Phoenix guys than Prince here in LA this evening. So that's our point guard outlook here. Moving on over to shooting guard. Again, some of these guys we've discussed with the dual positional eligibility, top 2 players we have. We move down to the next tier though. Klay Thompson, 65, Austin Reeves at $6,100. What version of Reeves can we expect here? Is the guy we saw in the final month and into the playoffs the superstar, budding superstar that we're going to get now for a full season with LA this year? Like, what's your take? Because if so, $6,100 is far too cheap for this guy, right?
Yeah. So, like, I was doing a little, obviously the playbook is out on fantasyalarm.com right now. If you guys want to go check it out, subscribe if you guys don't already. When LeBron and Anthony Davis were on the floor last year, D'Angelo Russell was the more productive player between him and Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves was only like a 0.75 fantasy point per minute guy, which at 6,100 is not a great number. Like, you really need a guy to be like 0.9 or better at 6,100, close to a fantasy point per minute. But he is like, and we saw it even with Team USA this summer. Like, he is a very good player everywhere. Like, he's gonna get you a little bit of defensive stats. He's a good passer. He's a really good floor spacer for the Lakers. Like, he shot over 40% from 3 last year. So I do like Austin Reeves quite a bit. I do like Klay Thompson quite a bit. I think what helps them too is that they have the best positional eligibility on DraftKings you can get, shooting guard, small forward. That means you can place them in 5 different positions in your DraftKings lineup.
Right.
So yeah, I'm okay getting to either of them. I don't think either are necessarily like priorities for me. I do like at shooting guard the fact that you can get to Steph Curry here. I do like the fact that there's a bunch of Phoenix value kind of here at shooting guard as well, just given the uncertainties with the rotation. So I'm okay if you get to Clay or Austin Reeves. Neither guy is a top tier play for me, but both are very solid last piece in type of plays.
I think they have great floors for a small slate. So like you can almost rely on them. I think, Clay probably gets you a 25 to 35 range, I would say, like 35 being a ceiling, probably settles in somewhere there. Austin Reeves is probably in that 22 to 28 with, if he has a ceiling, maybe he goes 34. So, I think they're pretty safe on a smaller slate when it comes to the price versus what their production is going to be. You mentioned some of these Phoenix guys here, though. We know Grayson Allen's going to start. We expect Grayson Allen to at least start. And now if we don't have Beal, we don't have 100% Booker, there's definitely more potential for Allen to take a few more threes, maybe get involved a little bit more doing some of the dirty things that he does on the floor, both defensively and rebounding and whatnot. Eric Gordon as well is at $4,300. You tweeted at the Phoenix Suns beat writer being like, what's this rotation going to look like? You sent out what maybe could be that rotation. He countered with, could be, we could also see Eric Gordon start instead. Yep. If Eric Gordon finds his way into the starting lineup tonight at $4,300 for Phoenix, that's going to be a play that you're going to want to be able to pivot to, because we know he can run the point. We know he can score a little bit, and he gets to the free throw line a little bit as well. So Eric Gordon could be a nice little compliment here at $4,300.
I have found myself getting to a lot of Eric Gordon today, John, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because he had a really good preseason. He shot the ball really well. And honestly, all these guys did, like Allen, Okogie, and Eric Gordon all had good preseasons. But Gordon is you talked about it, like he's been the most prolific scorer of the 3 in the past. Like Eric Gordon is a pretty good basketball. He has been a good basketball player for a long time. That just has a target list, as you know, now that you're married. CBS receipt list of injury history, and that's obviously derailed his career, and he's obviously older, but he's going to be a big-time spacer for this team, and similar to what Grayson Allen could be. But Eric Gordon could definitely handle the ball better than Grayson Allen if that's a direction they wanted to turn. So he's also $600 cheaper on DraftKings than Grayson Allen is. So I found myself getting to a lot of Eric Gordon today. Again, another guy with really good position eligibility, shooting guard, small forward. We'll see what the starting lineup is. There's obviously nothing official. But, I could see a world where Eric Gordon plays like 24 to 28 minutes tonight. And if you're telling me that he's going to play 24 to 28 minutes without Bradley Beal and a banged up Devin Booker, like, who's to say he's not like the 3rd leading scorer on this team tonight if the shots start to fall? So I do like Grayson Allen. If you want to play him over Eric Gordon, because the likelihood of Allen starting, the safer feeling of a starter versus a guy coming off the bench is obviously there, especially on night number 1. But I do like Eric Gordon for $600 cheaper quite a bit.
If you had to, pick Grayson Allen or KCP tonight, where would you
go? That's a good question. Maybe KCP, because I'm a little uncertain what, like, Christian Brown didn't play in the preseason. He's projected as their 6th man. And Michael Porter didn't play in the preseason. He's going to start. If both those guys are limited in any way, like KCP just naturally is going to have a bigger role.
Right.
Grayson Allen's more likely to shoot the basketball more. I'll go Grayson Allen only because the position eligibility. I think he has a little more flexibility in builds, but I don't mind KCP at all.
Okay. And then would you play Christian Brown tonight?
I would like to know if there's any type of minutes limit, which we should know because that's a 7:30 game. Didn't play in the preseason. What is his cap? Like, is Christian Brown going to play 12 minutes? Is he going to play 15 minutes? If we were told 20 plus, then sure. Like if Christian Brown gets 20 minutes, sure. But I would rather in most scenarios just get to Eric Gordon for $100 cheaper.
Okay. Moving on over to small forward here. LeBron is your top price guy. He's $9,300. We've discussed Thompson and Reeves already. Now we get into Michael Porter Jr. is 58. Jonathan Kuminga at 46, and Josh Okogie now at $4,000. The three small forwards we've yet to discuss. Gabriel does have a question here, I guess, because we've hit on a few of these players now. We'll bring it up. If you had to pick a trio here, Jokic, Prince, Okogie, or Durant, Porter Jr., Gordon?
So, like, this is a tough question for me because I don't like Michael Porter tonight. Not that you and I are like the biggest Michael Porter Jr. supporters in the world. Like everyone who's listened to us for years knows that. We ride with Michael Porter over Luka in these parts of the West,
we did
right?
at one point.
We did at one point. Yeah, I think. But like, also obviously the stability you have. Like, I think the first grouping is safe. I'll say this: if you're into like a safer cash game route, it's the first grouping. The second grouping is definitely more of your tournament build. Like Kevin Durant's gonna be really popular in cash too, but like Taurean Prince starting, that's safe. Josh Okogie starting, that's safe. I don't know, John.
We assume Okogie starting. I mean, I would go with I think there's a higher ceiling with the Durant, Porter, Gordon.
I think so too. I think that there's definitely a higher ceiling. I just don't know what the minute limit is going to be for Michael Porter. I'll go second one too. I'll agree with you on the second one because at the end of the day, Michael Porter's still starting, and we still have question marks with that first grouping. With like Taurean Prince, what is Taurean Prince even going to play? That rotation.
Well, that's it, right? Like if he gets bumped out for Hachimura or something that earlier, if they go to a small lineup and bump him out of the line, like both of those scenarios are very possible to happen here. So,
yep.
I'm with you. Talk about Jonathan Kuminga. He had a great preseason. No Draymond Green here, so we are expecting him to at least have a role initially off the bench here, maybe as the first forward to come in the game, play some of that 3-4, 4-5, however do they fit him in the rotation. We buying in at $4,600 tonight?
Yeah, I think the last preseason game was a pretty good indication of what Kerr was going to do because he talked about dress rehearsal, and like Kuminga had started for most of the preseason, and then that game he came off the bench, right? There, everyone's in, comes off the bench. I think he's going to be the first one off the bench, and even if he's not, what is he, the second person off the bench because Kevon Looney's getting a break for like Saric or something, right. So he's going to be, until Draymond's back. And I mean, he could even be their primary scorer off the bench now. Like that just, he showed in the preseason, he was the second leading scorer in the preseason, only behind Desmond Bane. And it was 0.2 difference, 0.2 point difference. $4,600 for Jonathan Kuminga is a really good price, especially when you look at this small forward position. And I know a lot of those guys, we talked about shooting guard, you could play here, Gordon, Allen, Reeves, Thompson, like you can play, but there's not a lot else to love. And there's still a lot of question marks, I think, surrounding the Phoenix rotation where like we kind of know like Kuminga has to play with Draymond out. Like the rotation is Jonathan Kuminga is in because he is going to lead the second unit in scoring, presumably lead the second unit in scoring. So yeah, I'm in on Jonathan Kuminga tonight. I would play him in cash. I would play him in tournaments. I was reading a little bit, John, and I think as we get down to the position, we have a couple Lakers down here. And the only reason I bring it up, I was reading Lakers beat reporters article on NBA.com talking about Darvin Ham's desire to play 11 guys basically every night. That really scares me with someone like Taurean Prince, who the aforementioned Taurean Prince that Gabriel brought up. And like, I get it because he's going to start and he did have a good preseason and whatnot. But like 11 guys is a lot of players. When you factor in like 30 plus minutes to LeBron, 30 plus minutes to AD, barring they're healthy, right?
Yep.
Reeves is getting 30. Russell teeters probably 28 to 30 most nights. Where are the 11 guys coming from? You know what I'm saying? Like they're coming at the expense of probably Taurean Prince the most. And so like that's my one hesitation with him. He's already a very low floor play. you talked about it already. Like, I would rather take a shot on a punt like Jordan Goodwin if we're like just talking strictly punts, or going up to Josh Okogie, who's going to start, who they don't have the same depth the Lakers seemingly do, because even like Max Christie's going to be in the Lakers rotation, we think, and he's $3,800. So like if Max Christie comes in and knocks down threes, is Taurean Prince going to be on the floor much? So I'm a little concerned with the Prince factor. Like, if I'm playing multiple lineups, I'll probably have a share or two because he's 3,500 and he's starting, but he has a very low floor. Right. Minutes, fantasy points, like fantasy point per minute guy. He's not a fantasy point per minute guy. So just, temper expectations just with Taurean Prince, even though he's starting.
I agree. Anybody else here at small forward?
I don't think so unless you have something.
No. Power forward. Again, we talked LeBron already. Certainly can play LeBron tonight. It's opening night. It's a marquee game. I think he can go out there and give you exactly what he's been giving you for the last 20 years. You want to, 35-7 tonight for LeBron James. Like, look it down. KD is at 84. I talked about it on the NBA preview show. We basically had a rule last year. It was like anything on KD under 9K, we were all in on. Now you're getting no Beal, less than 50%, maybe Booker. KD at 84 against Golden State. Yeah, I'm going to go KD in a lot of my lineups here tonight.
So you brought up LeBron, and I just want to bring up a tweet that Underdog just put out. LeBron James is not listed on tonight's injury report, John, for the first time in 133 games.
Love it.
133 game streak. Anthony Davis' streak we'll talk about next position. It was even longer than LeBron's, as I'm sure everyone predicted. But I think LeBron actually goes overlooked. Another, I'm not going to put him in the same box as Jamal Murray because he's almost $2,000 more. But he is going to go overlooked. And I think you could definitely get to LeBron because Kevin Durant is the better play.
Right.
He is. But just because he's a better play doesn't mean pivoting to LeBron isn't the right decision to win a tournament, right? Like, that could be a difference. If LeBron outscores Durant by 15 fantasy points tonight, it doesn't matter if Durant was the better, LeBron is the better GPP pivot because he's going to be lesser owned. And, but obviously, LeBron, Durant in cash, Durant in tournaments, perfectly fine. What do you look at after KD though? Is it?
Well, again, I know you talk not liking or not being in on Michael Porter, but on a smaller slate, I think there's still some merit to getting to him. Same thing with Gordon, Wiggins. They're kind of all jumbled to me. They're the same price, but I think they're all sort of similar floors and ceilings, I think, for me on tonight's slate. You talk Kuminga, if you wanted to spend down, could go there. Hachimura is obviously a big question mark, right? He was really good last year off the bench for that, or in their lineup, kind of come off the bench. Could come off the bench and play more minutes than the starter. Certainly could see that happening here. But if he doesn't start, that could keep some of the rostership down on him as well at $5,100. There really isn't much at the bottom down here that I'm looking too much at, but we did see in sort of that dress rehearsal game, I think it was against the Kings the Warriors played, where all the starters played 30-plus minutes. Dario Saric.
Let's go. I knew it. Let's
played 28 minutes in that game, I think it was. So Dario Saric at $3,400, son. If that is true, if that's the rotation that they're going to play in that game against the Kings, I think you got to give him a real look.
So I love you for this, okay? Because I love Dario Saric tonight, and I think he is one of the best punts. I think he's one of the most because Dario Saric is a guy who gets on the floor and can shoot. He can space the floor. He's played with Chris Paul. I don't know if you saw them talk about each other in a video forum yesterday where they Chris Paul was Dario Saric was the first person I called when I signed in Golden State. And Dario Saric is I love playing with Chris Paul. It's Chris Paul calling Dario Saric, not first person, that wasn't in the cards, but
did he call Steph?
No, Dario Saric, first person. And but I think you saw it, like you said, in the preseason, he is a really good piece off the bench. And what do we know about Golden State? They started Jackson Davis a couple times in the preseason, but what does Steve Kerr do? Or what does he not do? He does not play young guys rookies.
And in that game where Davis played, Looney was out. So you have to assume those two just flip. in terms of position there. So
yeah, I think Saric in this game operates as the backup 5. Maybe we see him. I don't think we're going to often see him play alongside Looney because that could be a nightmare. But like, what if Nurkic gets Kevon Looney in foul trouble early? It's not like Kevon Looney is like, he gets in foul trouble sometimes. Like, it's the big on big, right? Like, that happens.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I love your Dario Saric call because I also think Dario Saric, another guy that like I would rather play than Taurean Prince. So, like, forward spot, $100 cheaper. I think there's, better game environments by a little bit. Like, so yeah, I love the Dario Saric call. Good shout by you.
In that game, Saric played 28 minutes off the bench. The bench rotation, this is the one where they played Jackson Davis. Obviously, there was no Kevon Looney, no Draymond in that game. We would expect Kevin Looney to be active for tonight, kind of take over that spot there. But Saric played 28 minutes off the bench, had 14, 6, 3, and 2. Chris Paul played 30 minutes off the bench. We're not sure if he's going to start or not here tonight. But and then Gary Payton played 17. Moody played 7. Joseph played 9. So if you're assuming you entered Looney, you enter in Looney for Jackson Davis there, then that rotation should, I would assume, be pretty set there. So I'm a big fan of the dart throw here tonight with Dario Saric. Again, $3,400. Played back-to-back games of 20 minutes to close out the preseason. And he's a guy that gets there and he's active. He fills up the stat sheet, can stretch the floor a little bit, like you said, as well. So I'm 100% in on that play tonight on a 2-game slate. $3,400 gonna help you spend up and find some guys. And again, I feel better about that play than I do playing Taurean Prince tonight.
Yes, agreed. Fully agree.
Anybody else?
No, but you talked about spending up, and the number one spend up on the board resides at the center position. So, your Dario Saric lineups might have some Nikola Jokic atop.
Nikola Jokic is $10K, top price play on the slate for all the obvious reasons, because he could triple-double tonight in the first half. Can't say that really about anybody else on the slate this evening. So, don't need to go into it. It's Nikola Jokic here. Anthony Davis didn't really stand a chance. Doesn't have a guy went for 90 against him. Like, not worried about that spot. So, if you're not spending up for Jokic for one reason or another, your other options here are AD and Yusuf Nurkic here, or in the value tier, Kevon Looney. Maybe Eubanks, who continues to back up Nurkic here, as well as an option, as a potential option. And then, would you give Zeke Nnaji a chance at all? Njai a chance at all here?
I mean, they gave him, so they extended him.
Yeah.
So the contract extend narrative is there, right? Like he was gonna play over DeAndre Jordan anyways, right? Like he was always the backup center. He can stretch the floor a little bit. Probably not, because you can also play Saric at center. So I think if there's a backup center to play, it would be Saric 34. But it's Jokic at the top. I mean, Davis, although Jokic cooked him in that postseason 4-game sweep, like Davis, when he's on the floor, he is their best fantasy producer. Like because he's so good defense. Like he gets so many defensive stats. Like he blocks.
And the rebounds are obviously elite. I mean, guys. I mean, again, even against one of the best rebounders in the NBA. Now, again, NBA playoffs. He played 42 minutes in these games. He got but still 14, 18, 14, 10, 20. I mean, ridiculous rebounding numbers. And he was doing that during the regular season when he was playing 35 minutes, 21, 11, 14, 17. So if he plays 35 minutes tonight while he's healthy on opening night, he could definitely give you another 25 and 15, so.
Yeah. And if you're playing multiple lineups, you're going to have your Phoenix Golden State stacks. I think that's obvious, but why not have a Lakers Denver stack where you play Jokic Davis? There's enough value to pair them both. You play one in your util. Obviously that takes away from the late exposure because, you're now plugging a 730 into your util, but both those guys have a 60 point ceiling at times. So I think they're the clear top two. Nurkic, I think, is more than okay in all formats tonight. Just, considering, not a big offensive threat on the other side. So could definitely keep himself out of foul trouble and keep himself on the floor. No Bradley Beal. There's more shots to be had for Nurkic, higher usage rate, like incoming. Dude, Kevon Looney, though, 5,300 feels pretty damn good.
We talked about it on the NBA preview show this morning. This was last night before we had like the props out yet. And I was like, oh, if Kevon Looney's like rebound prop is like 6.5 or 7.5, I'm going to smash the over. It was 9.5. So,
9.5. Wasted no time.
They knew exactly where they were going with the rebounds here on Kevon Looney. The man is a rebounding vacuum. If he's going to be on the floor, because they got to match up with the use of Nurkic tonight, he's just going to grab all the rebounds. It's one of the reasons why I like the under on Kevin Durant's rebounds tonight at 7.5. Is the fact that I think Looney and Nurkic are just going to be out there grabbing all the rebounds. So, I mean, as long as Looney doesn't get in foul trouble and stays on the floor for 25, 30 minutes tonight, I mean, dude, a couple of 20 rebound games are mixed in here. And last year, that was the biggest moneymaker for me was, Prize Picks, Underdog. They were slow on the take with adjusting these rebounding numbers for Kevin Looney, giving you 6.5, 7 rebound props every night, and he's hitting that by halftime. So, loving Looney tonight. I think he's just, again, a sneaky double guy too as well. And I'm in here.
I have nothing really to add because I agree. Now, let me ask you this question: if you're playing Saric, would you fade Kevon Looney in that lineup? Probably. Because Saric is probably the direct backup, right? He's probably going to be the backup center. Right. Would you pair them?
Maybe. I mean, again, it's a smaller slate, so I think it's okay.
Okay. I was just building a line just like as we were talking, and I ended up with Saric and Looney. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think obviously it cuts into a little bit of it because if they do keep Looney on for longer, then you're going to see less Saric. So,
right.
But I mean, I would pick one or the other. I think.
Agreed. I agree.
Especially since Looney is center only. I'd rather pay up for one of these centers. Biggest question mark of the slate: what is Christian Wood? Who is Christian Wood, and why is Christian Wood?
Dude. They want to play 11-man rotation, and I think that includes Jackson Hayes. And if that includes Jackson Hayes, I'm a little worried. But also, we got to think back like last postseason. The Lakers thought they unlocked something with Hachimura, right? Where he was guarding Jokic at times, and like Hachimura played 30 plus minutes in every one of those games. Like, if they think that was the move, then Christian Wood really just doesn't fit into the equation tonight. I have little to no interest. If I lose because Christian Wood at 6,200 beats me, then like, so be it. He's a good fantasy point per minute guy, and I'm not saying he isn't, but it's really hard to like justify that price for a guy that we have absolutely no idea if he's going to play 6 minutes, 12 minutes, 18 minutes. He's just a very big wild card to me.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Tommy would get in the game here. We got the better cast here tonight for this Denver Lakers game here, James. He wants to know, what do we think? Over, under 26.5 points for Nikola Jokic. That's part of the pregame questions that you guys can go ahead. Scan the QR code here on the screen. It's a free app to download. Opportunity to go ahead and win some very cool prizes just simply by answering some questions before the games and during the games. You can redeem your tickets for autographed jersey, memorabilia, and other cool collectible items. Again, completely free to download. Go to bettercast.app, I think it is, and download the free app today or scan the QR code on the screen. What do you think on the Jokic point prop here, 26.5 here, James?
I'm going to go slight under, but it's just probably not something that I would love to bet because
some days his points don't come through, right?
Yeah.
He just does the assist and does the rebound. But again, super cool app. It's for free, which is the best part. Completely free to download and play. And you can redeem your tickets for answering these questions right for prizes within the store. Again, autographed memorabilia, jerseys, relics, a lot of cool things. Go download the BetterCast app. Watch the games with us. Get in the chat and have some fun tonight. You can watch the BetterCast preview on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube with Moose and Keith breaking down tonight's matchup as well. So go check that out on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube page. Let's get other questions here. We got LeBron more than 12 points. I'm not sure if this is a half.
It has to be.
Has to be a first half line, maybe. I would probably take it, though. I'm bullish on LeBron tonight. So if that's the first half total for LeBron, 12 points, he might get that in the first quarter. I would pull.
I would probably pull if it was a full game too, for the record.
Listen, Underdog Fantasy's promo today is a half a point for LeBron James. So,
well, that means he's not going to play, right? We saw the Bijan thing over the weekend.
So I said that to Coop today during the Alarm Fantasy Football. He's a guy to lock that in. I said, do you know that Underdog Fantasy has had 2 half-yard props today that went under this season that went under? Aaron Rodgers passing yards and Bijan Robinson rushing yards. So Underdog, no guarantees here on the half point happening. But definitely, again, if that's an over-under for a half, let me know. We were killing the first half scoring last year on Joel Embiid.
I was going to say, don't say we. That's all you. You were all in on the Embiid first half props.
Dude, he was hitting over 12.5 points like every first half. We made a lot of money last year in props, and I'm excited to get it going here this year for a bigger slate. I'll tell you what, for the 2-game slate, some of these props were tight. They were on their thing for opening tip, but we know that they forget about the NBA after the season starts up here. So let's get to it, James. Let's build a lineup for the friends at home here, guys. If you have any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. As we move along, we'll have a live stream every single day, 5 o'clock Eastern time, right here. So if you haven't already liked and subscribed to the channel, do so. James and I will take you through the hour until 6 o'clock. And then we go into our Fantasy Alarm Discord. You see the scroll down at the bottom right now, fantasyalarm.com/lock. Promo code LOCK will give you our annual subscription package for $16 a month. Less than $16 a month gives you access to all of our premium content on site. Last week, our NFL DFS content absolutely crushed. I won over $2,000. Dan Malin won over $5,000. A lifetime subscriber, our guy Rex, turned $100 into $4,000. Our guy Troy won $4,000 over on FanDuel, putting $100 in there as well. So we had a great fantasy football week 7. We're going to have a great fantasy football week 8. There's only been one NHL DFS slate that I haven't cashed on yet. We're still kicking off NBA DFS here tonight. You get all of that as part of our All-Pro package. So if you haven't yet subscribed, scan the QR code or go to fantasyalarm.com/lock. Promo code LOCK gets you there for the year for less than $16 a month. So, James, let's get to it. Let's build our lineup here. Troy's in the chat. Troy killed it. 3,200. My apologies, Troy. 32, almost 4K. Still absolutely
he was smiling. There. He was smiling typing that for sure.
Had to have been.
Only
$3,200.
Yeah.
Indy there wants to know LeBron 7.5 rebounds or more. I think we have him projected to go.
He's projected at 7. Projected at 7.
We got him projected at 7. So we got him going under there, Indy. So we'll take the lower there. Hard to rebound when AD and Jokic are grabbing 20 boards apiece. So we got the under rebounds for LBJ. Let's get to our lineup builds here. What's the number one plug for tonight here, James?
Probably Kevin Durant and Jokic, right? That's probably where we want to start. Jokic, Durant, because I think we have enough value to get both. But Chris Paul, Jokic, Durant, that's probably like a nice safe core that I would start in cash. I would start in tournaments.
But then we're definitely going Sarge. We talked him up enough, right?
Yep.
Forward spot for Dario here.
Yeah, and just for the record, everybody, like for those tuning in, we are building a tournament lineup. So like if you have cash game questions, please get them in chat. But John and I are largely tournament players that dabble in cash and have plenty of history in cash. When I met John, he only played cash, and I asked him what he was doing, and he said, I don't know. Building my bankroll.
My only 50-50s, but what happened was soon the cash lines in the 50-50s were basically the cash lines you needed for tournaments, so it didn't make any sense anymore to just play 50-50s. But listen, I still think the double ups are the way to go. Dan Malin is a 50-50 like connoisseur. That dude just absolutely smashes them. All right, so we got Paul, Durant, Jokic. Would you go Prince and cash? Dude, you know what? I don't know, man. I don't like playing cash on 2-game slate, but I do think the rostership is going to lean more towards Prince than Saric here. So, yes, I think for value cash gameplay, if you're in on cash for a 2-game slate, Prince is a way to go. That said, hopefully we get the news on some Phoenix lineups, because there could be some better values to get into your lineup tonight for the Phoenix side, with Beal maybe not playing, with Booker maybe not playing, but more likely than not, you're going to have to plug Prince in because of that 7:30 start. So I think in cash games, I go Prince, assuming that starting lineup comes out, and he is going to be in there. So, all right, 56.50 to go here, James. What's our next move? You said you played a lot of Eric Gordon tonight. I feel like that's where the next play is.
I have a lot of Eric Gordon. I think let's just, for the sake of the day that we've had, Bradley Beal's not going to play. So
I assume not, right?
Eric Gordon is going to have a role, even if they both play. Like, even if they both play, Eric Gordon was signed. He's going to be one of the first players off this bench. Him and Grayson Allen project to, if Okogie is the starter, whoever becomes a starter, the other two are going to be the two first off the bench. So I like Eric Gordon sans Bradley Beal, and I like him quite a bit at either shooting guard or small forward. You can play him at either. So
yeah, I'm with you. I think that there's again different ways to go. Could put him at either spot. $6,100. Again, we can maneuver from Gordon around as we see fit here. We do like other value. So I think we have room to get up to another minor spend. If we did LeBron and gave us $4,500 a player, we like a few other value plays. Do you think LeBron is where you want to go? Gordon, or a Booker rather? What's your thoughts here? Or do you find yourself maybe more fair and balanced? Reeves, Thompson, what's your play?
You could also get to Steph here at the guard spot. You could not stack Warriors, but no Draymond. Chris Paul, we know, is going to serve as some type of de facto point guard. And then, we have all this Suns potential value, and we have, I don't want to play Taurean Prince, but you have Kuminga if you want to go full Warriors. There's, I think, a bunch of options here.
Just playing around with it, I still have $500 left doing Paul, Gordon, Kuminga, Durant, Jokic, Curry, Saric, Okogie, right?
Yep.
And on a smaller slate, we talk about this. You don't need to spend every dollar. So, no. If you want to leave a couple $100 on the table, I wouldn't leave $1,000 on the table, but $500 is certainly well within reason. And we're talking about the top price players on the slate. We have two of the three. So, could certainly find ways to make some more viable lineups here this evening. You like Curry over LeBron here tonight?
Not necessarily. I was just throwing different options. I will say
you could still play AD here too if you went.
Yeah, and here's what I think is going to happen. No one's going to play the expensive Lakers. No one's going to play LeBron. No one's going to play Davis, because naturally it's okay, plugging Jokic at center doesn't really make sense to play AD at your util, because there's no flexibility there. But nobody again is going to get to LeBron at that price. But if LeBron could very well break the slate at 9,300. We need what? If you just want 5x, you need 46 fantasy points for LeBron. That's well within striking distance. So I'm perfectly fine getting to LeBron if that's the direction we wanted to go. I'm perfectly fine getting to AD if that's the direction we wanted to go, because I think of the stars, those are the two guys that are the lowest owned.
Sure. If we went Anthony Davis here, we have $4,800 for a guard. Obviously, we're 100 off of Grayson, which is the way the world works. We could go KCP, Gabe Vincent, Christian Braun as some value guard plays here. Is there a one you prefer over the other in these scenarios?
It would probably be KCP, right? Gonna play 30 minutes, the guarantee of the rest of the position. He's probably got the highest minute floor.
Yeah, it doesn't really change too much. Some of the same players here. You just kind of add in Okogie, I guess.
That's a good one. The Okogie one is a good one, because I do think Okogie has it was KCP biggest role. There was a big drop off, I think, of what we can guarantee minutes, but I think Okogie is pretty guaranteed a pretty sizable role.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So again, there's a couple of pivots around here, guys. If you want to go there, Paul, Gordon, Kuminga, Durant, Jokic, Curry, Saric, and Okogie. If you like the Anthony Davis route here at the util spot, that leaves you $4,800. KCP should be on the court a lot here. Cashes you out in full. And again, LeBron being a little bit more expensive at the util spot, $4,400. That's where you probably go down to Christian Braun, that is. Or Goodwin, actually. Forgot even about our boy Goodwin down here at 33.
Yep. Could
get all the money in the world. You can literally play wherever you want at this point. So,
that is what you call stars and scrubs right there, ladies and
gentlemen. Make some life choices tonight, friends, and have some fun on a 2-game slate. James and I will be back again. We have the NBA DFS show each morning. You can check that out at 9 a.m. Of course, you can always check it out on our Fantasy Farm YouTube page. We generally record that the night before, get it out nice and early for all of you. And then we come back live each day, 5 o'clock Eastern time, go through the slate, give you all the updated lineup news. And there's already a bunch of news coming in for tomorrow's slate, some big names being ruled out as it is. So check it all out. Again, if you haven't yet subscribed to the Fantasy Farm family, you see the scroll down at the bottom. I'll throw that QR code up one more time. Annual subscription package for less than $16 a month. If you go month to month, it's about $40 a month. So we're giving you a massive deal right now. If you scan the QR code or go to fantasyfarm.com/lock and use promo code LOCK at checkout. For now, James and I will be in our Discord till roster lock, getting you all ready for tonight's opening tip. Till then, we will catch everybody later. Good luck tonight. Go win some money. We'll see you here tomorrow evening. And we'll be ready to go for yet another day of NBA DFS, everybody. See ya.